Moving along now, here's a part that we want you to take part in and be an active agent in discussion with. Firstly, we're going to bring up Julio Jordan, Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Ibero-American Action League, who will give you directions and lead you further in how we'll go into our breakout discussions. And Julio will also frame those discussions that we'll be having. My friend Julio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. I am so happy to be here with you all, and all of the information, all of the speakers, and everyone that is really shared with us this morning. The information, even though we know it resonates, and the reality of it is that sometimes you have to hear the same thing over and over again to really get it. And I'm thankful that our community is at that point. We've heard so far terms like redlining, inequities. I love because I'm also a Jordan fanatic, not only because my last name is Jordan, but I've been buying Jordan sneakers since I was 13, since they came out pretty much. And I loved the analogy that was brought about where, if everyone gets a size 9, but not everyone wears a size 9, it's not really going to work. You'll have a nice pair of sneakers to look at, to give away, to possibly sell, but they're not going to benefit you directly at that moment. So I want to share with you before we go into the next activity, we know that there are a lot of inequities. We know, especially when we talk about COVID in our community, we know that we, Latinos, African American, Indigenous, we are more likely to pass away, to be affected in a very negative fashion by COVID. We know that. And one of the things that I see now is that we are also the least likely to be given the vaccination or have the opportunity. So I am beyond proud to be with an organization like Ibero, who as of last Thursday and the next Thursday coming up, will be administering these vaccines to the community because it's something that we have to make sure that, we don't expect people to be able to make it to the hospital or to the doctor's office. We need to be able to have locations that are in the community right there. Father Tracy Center is another great institution right on Clinton Avenue that has done a great job of administering these vaccines as well. And we know that not everybody has Wi-Fi. We know that not everyone has the privilege of having a car, to have money to pay for gas, or to do any of those things. So sometimes, having within the community that people could easily get to and travel to is important. But I also want to talk about one thing, and I'll wrap this up in a couple of minutes. When we look at, some of the inequities that we face, we have to take a hard look at ourselves and say, what are we doing? What are we doing to move it forward? And I'm going to use myself as an example. When the COVID vaccine trial started going full swing, I raised my hand and I was like, hey, you know what? I'll be a guinea pig. I know the history. Trust me, I know the history in Puerto Rico. I also know the history within the African American community where these trials and experiments were performed on human beings under the guise that it was to help. And in all reality, it was not to help. I understand that and I get that, but I cannot allow the mistrust of what others have done or the fact that others have misused our trust. I can't allow that to be the reason why I don't contribute and do what I have to do. So I signed up for the vaccine trial, the Johnson & Johnson one, really without a complete understanding of what could happen and not really worrying, because honestly, I'm walking by faith. I'm not walking by sight. There's so many things that could basically be put in front of me or that people can tell me that'll stop me from doing that. But I know that as a Latino, a 45-year-old Latino male, we are less likely to subscribe or partake in these types of trials. So there's no way that I can talk to a brother of mine, a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, and tell them, hey, this is safe. This is something that's important without me doing it first. That to me holds a lot more weight. So instead of talking about something, I'm actually doing it and showing it. So I just challenge each and every one in our community to really, look at these inequities, look at these challenges that we're facing. And I like to refer to the fact that, we've just been hitting the snooze button for decades. And now it's time to stop hitting the snooze button, and it's time to act on what we already know. We need to make change systemically within ourselves. So I challenge each and every one of you to just ask yourself, what can you do now that we know the information is in front of us? It's more in your face than it's ever been. Is what are you going to do to push it forward, to make sure that these changes are being enacted so that generations from now, we can have those, equitable and fair rights. So just want to leave you on that, just a thought, but I thank you. And what we're going to be doing now is in a few moments, you're going to be placed in a breakout room. The goal of these breakout rooms is to have a discussion around solutions for the community. As a group, you will be tasked with one question to discuss for 15 minutes. We ask that one person volunteer to be a scribe, and I would ask that you don't spend the 15 minutes trying to figure out who that scribe is going to be. So try to just have volunteer, take that charge. At the end of the discussion, you will be asked to submit one action item to share with the larger group. Your questions, your notes, and the final submission will be completed using a Google form that will be placed in the chat once you are in your breakout room. So you'll see that in the chat, in your breakout rooms. You will also get instructions as to which question you will be answering. But once again, I just want to reiterate, you're going to have 1 minute to present your action item. So please be concise. Please keep it to 1 minute or less. Aim for 30 seconds, so that way you'll end up at a minute. But we're going to, at this time, move you all into your breakout rooms. So we'll see you back here pretty soon. Talked about it, we discussed prior to going into the breakout rooms, and I'm hoping that you were able to really share and get through the questions. But what we're going to do is we're going to request that the scribe from each group share their one action item. Please be very concise for the sake of time. We want to get you out of here so that way you can get to lunch or brunch or whatever it may be. So limit it to the 1 minute to share. Be short and concise in your report. And then we'll start off with group number one.